going on, you guys? How y'all doing? Welcome to the channel, man. This is JLerone with JLerone Presents. We talk about facts, foolishness, and black female effort. Today's video, man, we're going to look into this Byron Donald's, congressman from Florida, right? I guess he's running for the VP of the United States, on the Trump ticket. So he made a comment, right, about, actually he made a factual statement. He didn't make a comment. He said something that was actually facts, as far as he said that black American families were more together, right, during the Jim Crow era than in the history of the United States. Well, based of where we're at now, right? Because we know now the marital rates for black Americans are low, and they've been dropping since and the facts that he was talking about is that black families have not, the marital rate has dropped since the Jim Crow era. And if you look back, he's actually right. The facts show that during Jim Crow, black families were more together. There were more marriages. Black families stuck together. Right now, after Lyndon B. Johnson came into office, it went on a decline, right? It went on a straight decline after once they brought in the welfare system and all that goodness and feminism and all that, right? Marriages started going down. Black folks, were divorcing and not getting married, and and he's absolutely right about that. The facts show that, but these black Democrats got a problem with it. The black community has a problem with it. The pro-blacks have a problem with it. So it's like now, being a black man and a Republican, you cannot say anything about the black community, especially Jim Crow, without some pushback, right? So that kills me with the black community. I don't get it. It's like, and just take a listen to this, man. I want to let y'all listen to this clip of Byron Donald when he was talking to Abby Phillips on CNN, right? And they had a problem with him saying Jim Crow. I think he said the word Jim Crow like 3 times, and they had a problem with it. And I'm like, are y'all afraid that if he say Jim Crow more than 3 times, we're going to revert back to Jim Crow era? Like Beetlejuice, you know what I'm saying? You could, the movie Beetlejuice, you say Beetlejuice, 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 and then Beetlejuice just pop up out of nowhere. So I guess if you say Jim Crow 3 times, we're gonna go back into the Jim Crow era. I mean, this shit don't make no sense. They had a problem with him saying Jim Crow 3 times, and then they twisted his words to make it seem like he was like big up in the Jim Crow era, like it was some type of nostalgia to be alive and a black person during the Jim Crow era. So it's stupid. The black community, man, we are so fucking dysfunctional. It's pathetic, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys listen to what Abby Phillips had to say, and just listen to this bullshit. Just listen to this. This lets you know. I don't know why anybody would be a Democrat now. I really don't. I can't. I don't. Just listen to this BS.
Good evening, I'm Abby Phillip in New York, and I want to get right to it tonight. One of Donald Trump's vice presidential contenders. Good evening, I'm Abby Phillip in New York, and I want to get right to it tonight. One of Donald Trump's vice presidential contenders, Congressman Byron Donald, he made some comments that has a lot of you talking and a lot of Democrats fired up. I'm going to speak with him live in just a couple of minutes, but here are the original remarks. They were made as a part of a pitch to black voters in Philadelphia, and I want you to hear it in its full context. Listen.
I grew up with my mom. My dad and my mom, things didn't work out. As an adult, I look at my father and I say, bro, I don't know what happened, but you my father and I love you. Wow. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. Wow. But I'm going to tell you this. Growing up, the one thing I knew I wanted to do, and this is not about my father, this is about what I wanted to do, is I wanted to be a father to my son. Wow. And so one of the things that's actually happening in our culture, which you're now starting to see in our politics, is the reinvigoration of black families with younger black men and black women. And that is also helping to breed the revival of a black middle class in America. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in America the last 10 years, and I say it because it's my contemporaries as well as his contemporaries, you're starting to see more black people being married in homes, raising kids. It's when you home with your wife raising your kids, and then you look at the world, you're saying, "Oh, wait a minute, time out. This does not look right. How can I get something to my kids?" It goes back to the conversation of generational wealth. Not just having a job, generational wealth.
Now, we should note that many Democrats who jumped on Donald's today claimed that he said that blacks were, quote, better off. As you heard there, he didn't use those exact words in the clip, but the congressman joins me now to talk about that. Congressman, thank you for being here. I want to just focus on really the substance of what you were saying or trying to say in that clip. What did you mean by black families were more together during Jim Crow?
Frankly, what that is about the empirical fact that before the Great Society, before Lyndon Johnson's policies, there was more black families united. The marriage rate in black America was significantly higher before the Great Society. The period of time that coincides with that, obviously, is Jim Crow era. And then after the Great Society, the marriage rate in the black community plummeted significantly. The Great Society is a part of that reason, not completely, but it's definitely a part of that. And what you're seeing right now in America is a reformation of black families in America. That's a good thing, not only for the black community and for black families, but it's also a good thing for the country.
So what was the point of tying together the black family and Jim Crow specifically? I mean, Jim Crow, as you know, was a period of racial segregation, of racial terror. Why would you make that connection?
All I was doing was referring to the time periods when you talk about the historical timelines in America and coinciding with black families and what the marriage rate in black families are. The overarching point is obviously talking about what polling shows today, that about 20-25% of the black vote, depending on what poll you're looking at, is leaning towards supporting Republicans and supporting President Trump. The corollary to that is that when you're in a family unit, husband and wife, living together, working together, thriving together, you're raising your kids, your thought process is now talking about building generational wealth. What am I leaving to my children? What kind of communities do I want my children to come up in? What are the educational opportunities? What's going on with the economy? How does, and then to a broader level, how does foreign policy and all these other public policy issues flow into that? And so when you compare the terrible agenda of Joe Biden and what that's done to families in America, coinciding with the fact that you are seeing a reformation of black families in America today, which is an absolutely wonderful thing and needs to continue. My view is it also coincides with a more conservative leaning and a more conservative mindset politically in those families.
One thing I really want to just get you to address is there were a lot of people who heard what you had to say, and a lot of them are offended by the idea that you would repeat Jim Crow 3 times in your comments, as if to suggest that that was a time period because that black families were, in your words, together, because, in your words, black people were not just more conservative, they voted more conservatively. That's a good thing. I mean, it sounds like nostalgia. Do you regret using that time frame as a reference?
Nobody ever made nostalgia. That was never the point. It wasn't even about that. So where now I'm gonna get my backup is, I didn't say that. I didn't even insinuate that. That is where the media and yes, Hakeem Jeffries and a lot of other people are taking.
What exactly?
where do they get nostalgia out of him just saying what factually happened? They are reaching.
No.
I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. What didn't you insinuate?
The premise of your question, I did not insinuate. That is what people are trying to weave into what I said. What I said is crystal clear. It's on my social media. Go to @Byron Donalds on X. You can see the full clip. Abby, I appreciate you playing the full clip. What you are dealing with right now is a political environment where now anything I might say or any major surrogate might say is going to be twisted into the lens of race. That was never the point, not the idea
I just want
whatsoever.
just to clarify my questioning of you. Sure. I mean, I understand that this idea that you said it was better. You didn't use the words better. But when you talk about that time period, you're suggesting that because the black family was together, they were better off than they are now.
See, this is the problem, Abby.
So are you saying that that's not the case? That the black family was not?
They sat up there and played what he said, yet they're still trying to put words in his mouth. Do y'all see this bullshit? God damn.
When they were, in your words, together.
Abby, let me put it like this.
In the Jim Crow era.
Let's agree on something. I am, obviously one of the better communicators in the Republican Party. I know how to put words together. I do it very, very often. So I'm not going to say something that I do not agree with. What America is seeing right now, especially Black America, is the gaslighting that unfortunately does happen in politics, where you take my comments and you want to weave your own political viewpoint into what I said. What I said is very clear.
I asked you to explain because I wanted to. What I want to undo is understand what you're saying.
All these PhDs, these bachelors, they get their masters and their doctorate. Shout out to Kosher Clinician, and they still can't comprehend what this brother is saying. They don't want to comprehend what he's saying.
You're making a comparison. You're saying the black family was together then, they're not together now, and you're using that to try to say that things are bad now. Well, first of all, let me just set the table here. By pretty much every available measure, black families, black individuals in this country are better off today than they were during Jim Crow. Would you agree with that?
Abby, of course I would. I'm not making that point, and this is the problem. What the Democrats, what Hakeem Jeffries did on the House floor, what Jamie Harrison, what the president of the NAACP, what the Biden campaign, because they're the ones who started this, was really the Biden campaigns who are trying to cherry pick everything. Yep. They're trying to twist my words into saying something. I never said that. What I was talking about was specifically black families. And the point that black families being together is a great thing for the black community. And you do have to acknowledge the empirical fact that before Lyndon Johnson's policies and the welfare state that was created in the United States, I'm not talking about good, bad, or indifferent.
What about
black families were, black marriage rates were significantly higher. They're rising again in America. That's a good thing. We should celebrate that.
Things that may have contributed to the maybe the decline in marriage rates, which, by the way, is not unique to black families. That's happening actually across racial groups. But what about other things? I mean, what about redlining? Do you think that had an effect on the black family? What about mass incarceration? What about the war on drugs, which was...
Well, mass incarceration, and I mean, that came out in the 96, was it 96 crime bill that Biden fucking wrote? I mean, come on now, they're reaching.
The president, whose advisor said it was specifically to target black people. What about all of those things?
Look, if you want to talk about redlining and a lot of the other policies that were put forward, quite frankly, by the Democrat Party, if you're going to go back to Jim Crow, because Jim Crow was Democrat policies.
Well,
that's what that was.
I know that you know this.
Don't cut me off when I'm trying to make a point.
Let me I have to correct a factual point here. I know that you know.
He's right. Democratic Party was responsible for a lot of that shit. To be honest, and it might piss a lot of y'all off, the Democratic Party came about from the dude who, the Democratic Party was fucking the KKK. The guy who started the Democratic Party was a member of the KKK. So y'all, come on. Let's be real. We're gonna be real.
that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party of today are ideologically not what they were during Jim Crow. You know that, Congressman. So to suggest that, the Democrats of 1920 are the same ideologically as the Democrats of today is inaccurate. So just, you can continue, but
that's not totally true, Abby. And I think if we want to have that conversation about the policy positions between Republicans and Democrats, we can have that conversation. But
one of the other
Abby,
things,
do you want to have a conversation?
One of the other things,
since
you brought it up, on the conservative thing, the other thing that you said was Black people voted more conservatively. Were you talking about them voting for Republicans?
In part, yeah, because that's just an empirical fact. That's what we know that did happen. And the only corollary that I am making is that when families are together, and now you're trying to find a way for you to build wealth within your family unit, you're thinking about public policy in a myriad of ways. Because at the end of the day, you want your children to be able to stand on your shoulders. I was very, very fortunate. My mother was able to build a platform for me to be able to stand on and to be able to achieve. Same for my sisters. I'm a very blessed individual because of that. My only point is that when you have a family unit, husband and wife living together, striving together, grinding together, raising children together, you start thinking about public policy in a myriad of ways. And my belief is that dynamic allows people to start thinking about public policy in a much more conservative way as opposed to a much more progressive way. That's my point.
That might be, I think you're a Republican, so you're entitled to that opinion, but I think what people are taking issue with is you made a couple of statements of fact. And one of the things I was asking you about whether you were talking about Black people voting for Republicans. In the time period that you're talking about, the LBJ time period, they started voting for Democrats. And the reason is because of civil rights, because a Democratic president was passing bills that gave them rights. The Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act of 1965, the Housing Fairness Act. So do you acknowledge that when Black voters vote for Democrats, it's actually because there's a history there. There's a reason that they voted for Democrats in that time period, not because they were just getting welfare money.
Abby, let me be clear. I don't deny that. I think it's also important for the record to be clear that you had the vast majority of Democrats in the Senate were filibustering the 64 Civil Rights Act led by Robert Byrd, who, by the way, was a mentor to Joe Biden when he went into the United States Senate. So if we're going to talk about the history, let's talk about it clearly and completely. Republicans have been the ones who were pushing not just the 64 Civil Rights Act, but the other 4 Civil Rights Acts that occurred before 1964. That's the history of the country. I'm not denying that. Abby, can I finish my point? All I'm asking is to finish my point.
On the facts here.
And you see what they're doing? Whenever he makes a point, she cuts in and cut him off, right? They know exactly what they're doing now. We finna go into this one where he talked to Al Sharp. This is some straight, man. This is when Black folks talk about, and this is what kills me, right? Pro-blacks and blacks, you know what I'm saying? Pro-blacks and the Black community are always talking about racism, right? But they the first ones to come out their mouth to call people coons and sellouts and all these racial slurs, right? But they supposed to be pro-black. They supposed to be for the Black community, right? But listen to Al Sharp. Now, when you talk about straight buffoonery, straight coonery, yeah, I said it. Listen to this.
Yeah, I said they were, and this is the problem.
Go back. All right.
Jim Crow was a law against Black people. You weren't just talking about the era of Dwight Eisenhower and Harry Truman. You named Jim Crow. There's only one way you could deal with Jim Crow, and that's by race. I mean, look, you and I had mutual friends. People say you're a straight shooter. We may disagree on politics. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. But look, you were born in Brooklyn, you went down into the South, went to Florida State, you have an interracial marriage, you're the congressman of a district that's not a Black district. I mean, how can you even live with yourself acting like Jim Crow was a good era or better era for Blacks? What happened to you?
Okay, that's real cute. That's real cute. I did not say that, and I'm not going to sit here and have to insinuate that against me. Because right now you're lying about what I said. I did say Jim Crow. I did reference it 3 times. That's not to say that it was better. I never said that. Those words never came out of my mouth. When are you going to get...
Why are they so hung up on how many times this dude said Jim Crow? I'm serious, man. They act like it's fucking Beetlejuice. Like you say Beetlejuice 3 times and Beetlejuice just gonna pop out of nowhere, man. This is fucking stupid.
Everybody else's fault. I never said that. And the difference between me and a lot of other Republicans, I'm not going to sit here.
You said it was better for us
I'm not going to let you
under Jim Crow to bring families together. Did you say that?
Everybody's lying. The Biden campaign is lying. Go look at my words.
Well,
go look at my words.
People can look at your words.
Was better? No, I did not.
You said
I did not
under
say Jim Crow was
Crow,
better.
we
I
had
never said it was
families
good.
more
I did not
together.
have nostalgia. I never said any of those things. I was talking about black families and black family marriage rates during that time.
Okay.
And the...
All right, then what did Jim Crow do to contribute to black families?
I'm not talking... Oh, my gosh.
You said that you said under Jim Crow, black families. So explain to me what Jim Crow did to help black families.
The marriage rates during the Jim Crow era were higher for black families up until the point of the Great Society. I did not say that. I said they were. And this is the problem. Because you're trying to say that I said because of Jim Crow marriages were at a higher rate. I did not say that. I said during. I said during.
But why did you use Jim Crow? Jim Crow was a race law.
Because it's a state of fact during that era. These motherfuckers are fucking dumbasses. Comprehension level is at its lowest. Man.
And there's no point whatsoever in debating or arguing with these clowns, okay?
Right.
Because they're not interested in the truth. They're not.
Right. So this is this is a guy who's reacting to it, but yo, that shit is ridiculous, man. You cannot talk to these dudes, man. Like I said, these are some damn clowns. You cannot. They try so hard to make Byron Donald's seem to be, they try to make a fool out of him, but they're making a fool out of themselves. This shit, man, y'all, this is out of hand. This shit is getting out of hand. But like I said, everybody, a lot of black folks wants to, Democrat. I'm a Democrat. But you see what the Democrat Party is doing. They've gotten so triggered over this brother mentioning that black families were more together. The marriage rate was higher during Jim Crow era. That's all he's saying. He's not saying because of the Jim Crow era marriages were at its highest. Hell no, he's not saying it's because of that. He's just stating a reference, a fact, that during this time period, black people were married more. They were more together. There was more marriages. People stuck together. That's all he's saying. But of course, you got these Democrats, and because this brother, more likely, he is married to a white woman. So that right there in itself has the black Democrats, black people, pro-blacks, all of them have a problem with this brother being married to a white woman and then saying what he's saying about Jim Crow, right? It's just like when Larry Elders was on the Breakfast Club. Again, he's a black Republican, right? But since he's a black Republican, he can't say anything negative about the black community, even though it's true, right? Larry Elders was saying that, the black community, has some dysfunctions. He was talking about the marriage rates, and he was talking about, how the single mother race. Thank you, Ebony K. Williams, for contributing more to that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Larry Elders was talking about that, right? So again, black community, pro-blacks, lump them in however you will, but the majority was, again, against Larry Elders for saying what he said, which is true. Everybody who states true facts about the black community is somewhat labeled, a coon, a sellout, right? And these are words coming from blacks or the pro-blacks. But they want to say that white people are racist? But all you hear is racial slurs coming from these pro-blacks and members of the black community, Democratic, left-leaning, whoever. But that's all you hear from them. You hear more racial slurs from them than you do from any white person. You know what I'm saying? They get on national TV, they get on these podcasts and just spew all type of racial, slurs. But white folks racist. Now, am I saying white folks are not? No, but I'm just saying, who do you hear, spewing all these racial slurs to one another? Black folks. That's all you hear. But you guys, let me know what y'all think of this bullshit. Again, the Democratic Party tried so hard to make Byron Donald sound like he was, big up in the Jim Crow era. They made themselves look stupid. Alright, you guys, drop some comments down below. Let me know what you think. It's your boy JLerone with JLerone Presents. You guys, please be good to yourself. By all means, let's be good to one another. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.